Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really glad to be here and to be one of the four potential candidates for the congressional seat, and I'm really glad to see how interested you are as Americans to be here to join us in what I'm sure will be a rousing debate so that you can determine which of us you would like to represent you in Congress. My decision to be a candidate quite surprised me. I hadn't thought about it, actually. I've been involved in political life. I've been 35 years in Delaware. I've supported and promoted candidates for the Republican Party. I've been in the community for 35 years, and I've worked on so many projects, many of them education because of my 4 children, and I've had 35 years of business. And I smile because you really don't know business until you're having a week where you're not going to meet the payroll and you're waking up at 5 o'clock trying to decide, how do I do that? I had the misfortune to feel that way when several months after my husband's death in 2000, the guys came in and said, you know, we don't have the payroll. It's the baptism of fire. But you never miss the understanding of risk and reward once you've been through that. And we need a Congress that understands risk and reward and understands business, because there is no prosperity in a country without a very strong small business population. My reason for running began when I watched the excessive spending, the excessive regulation, the excessive taxation, and every day I'd wake up and think it couldn't get worse, and it got worse. There were more ridiculous regulations that encumbered and made the bureaucracy much more difficult. There was more spending. There was no end to the spending. It seemed that whatever problem we had, there was $1 trillion solution. Just put a new agency on top of that old agency that had failed for $1 trillion, and that was the fix. Taxes, my gosh, we haven't started to raise taxes. Well, I couldn't understand. What were those 25 taxes that have been increased since Obama went in if we haven't had any tax raises? But the real insult for me was the stimulus. The stimulus was going to promote business, and it had so much difficulty getting out of the banks that were required to hold that money to capitalize them. The best was the health care bill. We're going to give small business a tax credit for giving health insurance to their employees. So for that $50 credit, we got the privilege of putting out of our pockets $10 billion for IRS agents, 17,000 of them, so they could audit us, so that they could make sure we gave health insurance to our employees, so that we got that tax credit. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are many things wrong in Washington that need to be fixed. I've had 12 years in the government. I've learned what works in the government. I was in the Department of Justice, Interior, EPA. At EPA, I learned that it wasn't enough to have the Environmental Protection Agency there to protect the environment from business. I fast learned that it was business that needed to be protected from the environmentalists as well. There was no question that balance was the most important thing. So it was a quick process. When I woke up after the health care bill, I said, got to stop talking about it, got to go do something. So with that myriad of experience, it's why I want to go to Washington. I want to make sure that we don't send John Carney to Washington, so that we don't just have another vote for Nancy Pelosi. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to the debate.